So, I played Katamari Damacy Reroll here for the Switch for the first time today, and I beat it. I beat it today, which is great. I don't mind, like I said with the Cat Lucanor review, I don't mind a short game. I actually like and prefer a short game as long as the experience is enough to sustain, the short game. As long as I don't walk away feeling like, oh, well, I would have liked to see more of that, which yeah, I would have loved to, there's so many more Katamari games. This game's a franchise now. I'm very much looking forward to playing all of the other ones at some point. Maybe not all of them, but a lot of them. I don't know if I still have that. I think I have the Vito one somewhere, but, whatever. It's like called Touch by Katamari or something, which is pretty funny, admittedly. But, these games are pretty cheap all around, so I mean, I don't know how much this one was. I don't even remember. It just must have been cheap if I picked it up. But I know that I definitely have always been kind of curious about the series. Like I said, I picked up the Vita one. That was going to be my first one. And then I lost all my Vita games and stuff. Anyway, that's totally unrelated. So how did I figure out about this game? I think I heard about it through a Metal Jesus video. Not Reroll specifically, but the original Katamari, which this is a remake of. I'm pretty sure the PS2 game, the original PS2 game. Um, and this one, it's like a remaster or whatever, so it's all brand new and good looking, and all the HD resolutions. You'd have to deal with that shitty PS2 480p barely, 360, 240p or whatever the fuck that bullshit was. Is really bad on PS2. PS2 and N64 are the worst looking consoles in terms of resolution now. N64 is probably the worst one because there's actually no way to fix it. PS2, well, I suppose, okay, PS2, the emulation looks pretty good now, and N64 as well, but even with N64, you still get some glitching and stuff. So I'd say PS2 comes ahead, just barely though. Plus, you can do a few things to make your PS2 look better. But N64 is a lot harder to make look good. You can just spend hundreds and hundreds of dollars HDMI modify that shit. Anyway, all of that has nothing to do with fucking Katamari Damacy. Basically, I think I heard about this on a Metal Jesus video way back when, and I'm like, that looks interesting. And then I've heard all sorts of things about it ever since, and I watched the Game Grumps play it at one point, and they sucked at it or whatever. I don't know how it took them that long to finish this game, because it's really not that long. It's I don't know, a 6 or 7 hour game. And I'm pretty sure, I mean, there's probably some extra levels and stuff that I missed, but I'm pretty sure I did all of the levels. I did all the levels that were available to me up until beating the game, with the making the moon on the final level, which was great and everything. So I did all of what I saw was there. I mean, there's probably extra content or whatever. That's not really relevant. The point is, I really enjoyed the game, and it was great. And I've heard all about it all these years. All Gen Gamers was another place I heard about it. Pete Dory talked about it a lot and whatnot, and I always had wanted to try it. And then it finally came out on Switch, and I'm like, well, this is the perfect console for this. I can have it on the go. I don't really know how the undocked version of it would work, but I used the good old Pro controller here, and that worked really well. This was with the joysticks and all that worked really great. You kind of use both of the joysticks to direct your. See, the whole point of this game, if you don't know, is you're rolling this ball and you're basically sweeping up things with your ball, and your ball gets bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's the whole gimmick of the game. Is it gets bigger, you're trying to get to a certain big thing, or there's extra levels where you're actually trying to make constellations and stuff. So you get Cancer and Virgo and stuff, and in those levels you do specific things. At the Cancer level, you sweep a bunch of crabs, or there was one that was Gemini. That's what it was, and there were twins. You had to get the things that were two, pairs of each other. Is really interesting. So there's little gimmicks like that on some of the extra constellation levels, which are a lot of fun. I like those too. And then there's the make a star levels, which are basically just roll up as much stuff as you can to get to a certain point. And they keep multiplying and multiplying. At first it's oh, you got to do 1 meter, which is nothing, and then it goes to, it doubles that. You gotta do 2 or 3 or 5 or something, and eventually it goes from 12 to 30, and you're how the fuck would I ever make a 30-meter one? But then you do it, and then it's like the last one's like 300 meters, and you're like, that's not physically possible. There's no way that can happen. And guess what? I got 600 meters on that one, which was a lot of fun. And you have a time limit. You're always under a time limit. And the time limit's pretty, I'd say pretty fair, the time limit. It just depends. Like, the last one was like a half hour you have to like make this big thing. I think it was like 25 minutes or something that you had. But, yeah, and some of the earlier ones are like, they're like 7 minutes, 8 minutes, and then like 10 minutes for the, you just keeps going up and up as the number of the circumference you have to make goes up as well. But the cool thing is, you start off really small, and you keep rolling bigger and bigger, and your guy stays the same size, so you eventually like lose track of where he is. But like, your ball is massive, and eventually you'll be like sweeping up cities and stuff, and it's just insane. Like, buildings. You go from like the size of a thumbtack you're sweeping up, and like, if you try to run into anything, even like a human foot, even like an ant, you can't sweep up at that point. It's like too big for you. But then like, you just keep going, and you keep getting bigger and bigger and bigger, and that's the real cool progression with this game. It's just like, you really feel that sense of scale, and especially as you get to the later levels, you just keep going. You're like, well, how can they possibly be sweeping up enough stuff to get to this level of like, of big? But you do it, and you just keep going and going, and eventually it's just crazy. Just cities and cities you get to sweep up in the last level. It's crazy. You go from such a small thing, and you start there, and you get all the way to this massive ball. It's insane. It's cool. Yeah, so that's great. The gameplay is really good. You have to kind of get used to the movement and the camera. If you click the two sticks in, the camera will lock behind you, which, I kind of wish it was just like a button, like in Banjo-Kazooie, where it's like the R button locks behind you or something. But, it works. Whatever. You have to click the sticks in, fine. You're already using the sticks for everything else, so that's great. You click the sticks in, the camera locks behind you, and, usually works pretty well for the most part. You kind of get used to it. And what else? And just kind of using the sticks to move whichever ways is kind of tricky at first as well, but you get the hang of it. And once you do, it's really fun. It's really fun, and the gameplay is really good. So yeah, it's just a good time. It's just a good time playing this game. That's the fun part. It's real fun. The aesthetic is pretty cool. The style and stuff. It's very good for its time. Like, if you realize that this is a PS2 game, then you think about it, and like, some of the like characters and stuff are blocky, but that's kind of the appeal, sort of like a Minecraft thing, where it's like, we like the blocky appeal to these characters or whatever. And that's part of the silliness of the game, part of the charm, because the game is silly and it's charming. The whole style of the game is silly. There's crazy everything just running around, and there's just a whole bunch of like, I can't even describe it. You just kind of have to look at it to understand. I mean, you're an alien prince guy that's like from the stars, and your dad like created the stars or something, and then like you're this tiny ball, and you're rolling up people and shit, and he's just like, that's fine, they're not gonna die or anything, you're not gonna like suffocate in the middle of this ball, it's fine, they'll be alright. So, and they get turned into stars. Like, if that doesn't say ridiculous, I don't know what does. It's just utterly ridiculous. But anyway, yeah, it's crazy. It's absolute madness. So that's cool. So the aesthetic kind of reflects that in a sense. It's definitely wacky and wild, and well, he's literally not from around here. He's from another dimension anyway. Yeah. So, yeah. So it's great, and the gameplay is great, and the visuals are great, and the music is wacky, and sometimes it's feelsy, and sometimes it's just so Japan that you're just like, yeah, that's real, wacky and wild and stuff. And so the soundtrack is great also. it's just great overall. It's really great. You know, sound effects. You can hear all these characters like getting swept up in your ball, and they're like, "Whoa!" You're like, like cats and cows and shit. You're just sweeping it all up, buildings and railings. It's cool because you have to kind of figure out, okay, what can I pick up next? You know, you start with, okay, I'm picking up these thumbtacks or this candy, and then you're like, okay, can I pick up the bucket now? Okay, no, I'm gonna, you know, bounce into that, and then I'm gonna have to figure out what I can pick up next. And you pick up the bucket, then you pick up these fences, and like, you know, all sorts of shit you pick up, and it's crazy. Um, and apparently there's like collectibles and stuff. Like I got this scarf and this like crown from this one level. This level where you just pick up crowns like off of things. It's insane. That's one of the constellation levels, but I got one of the, like, so there's like aesthetic like on your character, like, you know, um God, costumes. That's the word I'm looking for. You know, just little accessories and whatnot that you can throw on your character if you like do a certain thing in a level, or you find this present in a level like hidden away somewhere. So that's really cool. So there's just collectibles. There's all sorts of things, like, you know, you can sit there and max out your constellation scores. Like I didn't go above. I think my highest one was 75% on one of them. But I think that was the girl level where you have to sweep up all the girls or whatever. I think I got 150 out of 200 of those. Um, so yeah, it's very wacky and it's very cool, and it's such a great game, and I really recommend it to anybody who like is even remotely interested in this game. Even if you're not interested, look up some gameplay and just be like, you know, or like maybe don't even just go pick it up. Just try it out. It's a lot of fun. Um, yeah, I don't even know what else to say about it. It's just wacky and it's crazy and awesome and fun. And I just sat down this afternoon and I'm like, you know, this is the day after I beat Cat Lucanor. I beat that last night. I just sat down and I'm like, all right, I'm just gonna play this thing and see how far I can get. And then just eventually I just beat the game and I'm like, oh, well, that was cool. You know, it was a really fun experience. I knew it wasn't long, but I thought it was gonna maybe take me till like tomorrow or a different day to beat it. But that's fine. I mean, yeah, so it's like a 6 or 7 hour kind of game, which is cool. So yeah, I beat it all in one sitting, which is kind of disappointing, but also just because I want to play this more, you know. But also there's like a million other of these games, so if I really get the itch to play more of this sort of game, you know, they've got me covered. There's so many other ones I can play, but I don't feel dissatisfied with this experience. I feel the opposite of that. Very satisfied with the experience. It's very good. It's a very fun game. I definitely recommend it. I'm going to give it an 8.8 out of 10. And, out of 10. Like, I need to say that. Like, what, 8.8 out of 20.657234? I don't know. Like, what are you going to... Yeah, 8.5, or 8.8, sorry, out of 10. And... it's a really fun game, really wacky and cool, and this is the kind of game that I love, you know, that I've been sitting on for all these years that I like never played, and I just sit down and I play it and I fall in love with it because it's just great, you know. It's just really good. It's a lot of fun. Play it. All right, so this has been JZNES saying stick around for more reviews of underrated games. Keep it classic, and I'll see you in the next one. JZNES.